Everyone, hello and welcome into the night where we found out the Minnesota Vikings have narrowed down their general manager search from 8 candidates to 2 finalists. And we will likely know who the winning finalist is and the new general manager of the Minnesota Vikings by the end of next week. At least that is what is being predicted. A report today by Tom Pelissaro and verified by several others on Twitter listed the final 2 candidates as Ryan Poles from the Kansas City Chiefs and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah of the Cleveland Browns. So those are your 2 general manager finalists. They cast a pretty wide net. They had a very diverse group of candidates in their top 8, and they have narrowed it down to 2. So let's get into my thoughts and opinions after I introduce a little bit about each candidate, because we're all sort of learning this brand new stuff at the same time. I hadn't heard of these guys until a week ago, right? So Ryan Poles is first up from the Kansas City Chiefs, 36 years old. College scouting background, old school, former player. I could see why they like him. He was part of the team that helped build that O-line in Kansas City. They found Patrick Mahomes. They've been a playoff team for years and years and years. Could that potentially lead to an interview or a request for an interview for Eric Bieniemy if he is hired as the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings? Very interesting little nugget to think about. The other finalist is Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He is 32 years old, Ivy League guy, economics, Wall Street background. He went to, I believe, Yale and Harvard, I believe. Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns, reportedly refers to him as an assistant GM. That is how much he is respected in his line of work. And he has crossed paths with a coaching candidate on the Vikings list. That would be DeMeco Ryans, who was part of the San Francisco 49ers. I believe it was between 2017 and 2019. So there's a little bit of a connection there to a current head coach candidate on the Vikings list. So I'm pretty happy. Let me know what you think in the comments below about the process, the top 8, the final 2, and where we go from here. But I'm pretty satisfied, in my opinion. I think that they have done themselves due diligence, and they have narrowed it down to 2 pretty well-qualified candidates. And the thing I like about this is that both of these guys are young guys, right? 36 years old, 32 years old. Rick Spielman is, I think, pushing 60, if I'm not mistaken. So we're almost at half the age of Rick Spielman. So we're definitely going to get a very fresh perspective in the front office for the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that that's what they really need, because for those of you that have been here for a while, you know my main complaint about this football team the past couple of years is that it feels like the philosophies, the ideas, and the schemes are just stuck in the mid-90s. That has been my big complaint. And, I've kind of launched that criticism at Mike Zimmer more than anybody, but it's probably got a lot to do with Rick Spielman as well, because, he's the guy that oversaw the entire operation and allowed all the things that happened to occur on his watch, ultimately probably why he was fired. So I do enjoy that they're bringing in younger guys for a fresh perspective. I really do appreciate that. So do I have a favorite of the 2? I like both of them for different reasons. I like Ryan Poles because he comes from a organization that has been very successful for the last handful of years, up to a decade. They found Patrick Mahomes. They had a pretty good quarterback in Alex Smith. They were able to trade him away. They got Pat Mahomes. They have secured quality backups at certain positions. They went out this past offseason and got Joe Thuney for their offensive line, basically rebuilt the offensive line after what happened in the Super Bowl, because they saw what Patrick Mahomes had to go through, and they're like, we're never doing that again. Although maybe he loses a couple of points, because I think for a little while there, Mike Remmers was their starting right tackle, and I think Mike Remmers even started at left tackle in the Super Bowl just because they were decimated by injury. It's kind of nice to see a guy that could potentially come in who was like, okay, offensive line, this is a problem. Let's get that free agent, move this guy over here, and that should work. So very interested on Ryan Poles, very, very interested. However, I think Adofo-Mensah might be my favorite just by a hair, just by a little bit, just because he's an analytics guy, and that is definitely a huge change of direction for this organization, in my opinion. Now, I know they still dabbled a little bit in analytics in the front office, but he comes from that kind of background, and he's been talked about that he's going to be one of those guys who's eventually going to be a general manager. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So when you hear stuff about guys like that, you kind of hope that you end up getting them, because if you pass on him this time and then he gets another job somewhere else next year, and then, that ends up working out, you'll wonder what if. But I do like the approach. I do like that both of these guys are younger. We're not going with something from the Bill Parcells era, which I think needs to be put to bed. We need to stop doing that because, these guys get it. I think that they get it. And I think that it's interesting that they both come from an organization that has, done a lot and paid attention a lot to the offensive line, because the Cleveland Browns, they might not be in the playoffs. They may not have a Patrick Mahomes quality starter in Baker Mayfield, but they at least have an offensive line that is pretty damn good. And they've they put assets into that, so it's kind of interesting. That seems to be the similarity between the two candidates, is they come from organizations that spent a lot of time building offensive lines. So that could be where the Wilfs' focus is going to be, and it will be interesting to see what head coach emerges from this. So I think if we go Ryan Poles, we're either going to get an interview request immediately for Eric Bieniemy. I can't imagine him not doing that. And I think if we go with Adofo-Mensah, we're probably going to see Raheem Morris. That's just my gut reaction, if I could. I have no evidence to support either of those theories, but that just seems like what it could be. So let me know what you think in the comments below about the two finalists for the Minnesota Vikings general manager position, and let me know who you would pick out of the two. Or was there somebody that was left on the 6 that got cut that you probably would have had instead? So let me know what you think in the comments. That's going to do it for me. And as always, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.